do you feel like, even though you did take away a lot of this descriptive sort of section, that has found its way into the work in other places, and maybe the design or the staging?
Well, what we're doing is making a show that's kind of trapped in a small room, which is in a way what all of our shows are. There's something that happens among a group of people trapped in a small room, which is the stage.
Right.
And it's what happens when you do your early rehearsals at the 4th Street Theater.
Yeah.
It's a small room. It's very inspiring that way. So it emphasizes, I think, a little bit more of the interior, you know, sort of literally and figuratively, the interior of the novel than it does the, you know, the exterior. But it also gave us, you know, some of our toughest assignments. One of our toughest assignments surely was staging bullfights. I mean, there, you know, when he goes on and on about, you know, looking out the window of a train for, you know, pages and pages and pages, that, you know, we were a little more comfortable letting go of some of that stuff. But he, you know, Hemingway, such a bullfighting fan.
Yeah, and I mean, about that particular scene, I guess, or I think the second bullfight, when the protagonists are watching this bullfighter who is, you know, in some way romantically involved with the British expatriate.
Yes.
I was reading your cut of it, and I thought it was interesting how at that point the narration becomes split between Baylor, the bullfighter, and Jake, the narrator of the story. I guess, would you talk a little bit about how that scene sort of evolved and how it became theater?
Well, we just knew we had to deal with it somehow. And there were, you know, there's an earlier bullfight described, which we decided to do in a very austere way and just sort of present this figure of the bullfighter and just listen to the description, and maybe there'd be some sound. So there was this sort of idea that there's this violent, dramatic thing, these bullfights that we kind of keep them out of our little room at first. You just sort of hear it happening around, and you see people watching it, but you don't actually see it. And then we get to this big one at the end where we felt like we had to do it. And we were doing a lot of research, especially Susie Sokol, who plays Pedro, and Kaneza Shaw, who plays Belmonte, who's sort of rival.
Right.
They studied bullfighting really carefully, and Kaneza actually went to Spain
and saw
some. Brought back video. We watched tons and tons of video, everything we could get our hands on. And so it started out as a kind of choreographic. You know, we came at it from that angle. That's sort of this choreography, really paying a lot of attention to the physical. And we were also watching how they trained, how the bullfighters trained, and we saw that they had these kind of wheelbarrow things, which it actually it's like it's a big wheel with two handles coming off of it, and then a pair of bullhorns on it. And you know they will have like
somebody would drive it.
Yeah, somebody pushes it, and the bullfighters who are training, you know, sort of they mock up these fights with these things. So we thought about, well, if we could get our hands on one of those, wouldn't that be good? But as we often do, you know, I can't really wait until we've had a chance to order some special thing. I get too anxious. I want to try something out, so I just have a tendency to grab whatever's nearby in the room.
Yeah.
And so we have these tables.
Oh, wonderful.
And we actually we had to replace a couple of New York Theater Workshop's banquet tables because we had a few. We had a few bulls die prematurely.
Oh my goodness.
But we kind of went with that idea that that's how the training that way, and then I think it was assistant director who was working with me at the time who suggested that, or who found a pair of real bullhorns, just to fix them. front. So in the end, we managed to get something that was really satisfying to me about that scene, which is that we really were forcing ourselves to work with only our available resources there.
Yeah.
And we were very committed to this set that's really a cafe and a bar.
Right, and it's the Select, right? You guys are basically.
Yeah,
I mean, the Select is the name of one of the. It's probably the most important bar.
It's their favorite bar in Paris.
Yes, and I think it's significant because it's called the Select, and it's a bunch of American and British expatriates.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's interesting that you talked about how all of your work sort of functions in this really closed room, in this enclosed space. And you were saying like Hemingway's novel goes, part of its lost generation aspect is that it just goes to so many different places, not just bars, but they go fishing, they go
That was another
bullfighting.
fun thing to do.
Right, imagine, right? They go, and so I'm curious as to how did you, within the bar, create the illusion or the appearance of traveling, or, bring the audience to all these different locations? Or...
Well, I think part of the way we make that work is we rely on the actors seeing those things. There's a kind of just kind of through fiat. The actors just say, that is a river, even though it's just the existing. I mean, it's something you do in theater. It's sort of there's a lot of extreme suspension of disbelief, which I love. I mean, I like having that obstacle of a set that is, when one moment it's perfectly realistic and accurate, and the next moment it's just absolutely wrong for what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
But you get to participate more as an audience in the actor's process of becoming their characters, because you're watching them declare things to be true that are just obviously not true.
Table as a bull.
Yeah, but there's something really exciting about that process of becoming. And so it's important to me that you can see the artifice of it, and the awkwardness and the sort of mismatching of objects and actions, and because I guess I have some sort of faith in the kind of ritual of it, that we're all just going to agree to believe this.
Absolutely, yeah.
And not just in a kind of minimalist, detailless way. I love a set that's rich with detail. It's okay with me if it's the wrong detail. Because there's something, the actors are also engaged, and you engage with them, and it's more like watching, you're sort of seeing ghosts, rather than us trying to absolutely convince you that you are in a bull ring.
Right.